My name is Edward Kranz. I'm a bookbinder and conservator here at Kranz Books Bindery. And today on Ars Obscura, a book arts community, I'm going to be doing a first chapter impression review of Henry Petroski's book, The Book on the Bookshelf. This book is about the history of books and more specifically, objects that we don't necessarily pay attention to or see subconsciously or see consciously, like the bookshelf itself or maybe bookends. If you think about it, how many times have people come into your home and they say, hey, beautiful bookshelves? No, usually what they do is they go up to your bookshelf and they peruse your collection, and they may pick out a selection or two and say, hey, I've read this book, or oh, I would love to read this book. But very rarely do they comment on the piece of furniture holding the books up, either as a structure or as a work of art. So the first chapter really centers around observations of what we see but don't actually see. The other surprising thing about this book, and this is just from my first chapter impression, is Henry Petroski, even though he's an engineer, does not write a dry book. It's almost lyrical. Some of the passages that he writes. There's definitely a wide use of metaphors and analogies and similes. It's almost lyrical at some points. What I'd like to do is I'm going to read a page to you, and it'll kind of give you an idea of the book's canter and his writing style, and maybe a little bit about what the book's about. All right. So, not all books are just one among many. You know what? It would help if I use these. All right. Let's start again. Not all books are just one among many, parts of the crowd, bestsellers or stars. But no matter how many celebrities or personalities it holds, no matter how many paparazzis trample over it, the bookshelf is a doormat. Bookshelves are the library's infrastructure, the bridges between A and Z on the information back roads, the old country and state routes that the new interstate highway parallels, the trailblazers for the information superhighway. Bookcases are the basic furniture of studies, bookstores, and libraries. The bookshelf is the floor on which the book stands. It is the bed on which they sleep until a prince of a reader wakes them up or a talent scout promises to make them a star. Books open up their hearts, but bookshelves simply pine. What bookshelves wait for, of course, is books. Seldom is a whole shelf of books placed on the bookshelf at once, unless, perhaps, the person moving the books is one of those jugglers who can catch cigar boxes in midair between other cigar boxes and suspend them, and the audience, with a sleight of hand. It could be done with books, but a whole shelf full? Usually we move a few books at a time, or add a new book or two after a birthday party, or a visit to the bookstore. The bookshelf is not always full. This might be bliss to the librarian, but this is a heart-wrenching void for collectors for whom the shelf is something to be neither seen nor heard. The bookcase without a full complement of books is like a daydreaming student's notebook, its lines half filled with substance and half with space. The half-filled bookshelf is also half empty, of course, with books leaning left and right to form M, N's, V's, and W's to fill the voids between clusters of vertical and not so vertical I's, or L's, it's capital N, I'm not entirely sure. Let's see, though bookshelves are ever ready to lend support from underneath, they cannot always give lateral support to the tottering book. Bookends, those curious constructions that are supposed to hold books back as a dam does water, may or may not support either the slender or the squat. As dams sometimes do, bookends slip and tip over, opening up cracks in the once tight facade of book backs, allowing blocks of books to topple over in an unsightly pile. It is a manifestation of eternal video game conflict between up and down and side-to-side motion, the tension between the obelisk and the sledge, each subject to gravity in their own characteristic way. Indeed, gravity, the force that makes bookends work, is the very definition of vertically. Yet, it is equally definitive horizontal force caused by the bearing down of the bookend's weight that creates a force which resists sliding. Now he goes on and he talks about conventional wisdom and simplest machine not being a wedge but a block, and goes a little bit more into the definition of a bookend. I'll leave that information for you to discover if you decide to get this book and read it. Now, I would like to say that I'm not being paid by Henry to review his book. This is just something that I'm doing here on Ars Obscura. If you are interested in this book, it is called The Book on the Bookshelf by Henry Petroski. And of course, you can find it at your favorite online bookstore, or maybe even have it brought into your favorite local bookstore, which would probably be better for your local community. So this is basically my impression of the first chapter. I'm going to finish reading the book, and I'm going to give a full review of the book upon completion, which will be available to our patrons on Patreon. If you would like to become a patron on Patreon and help support Ars Obscura, the book arts community, and everything that we're doing here, please go to patreon.com and do a search for Ars Obscura. All right, so look for you in the future, and I'm going to get to reading the rest of this book. You have a great day. Thank you.